welcome to Working Dragon Mystic. I am Jade, here to do a video on the magic associations of pumpkin. That's right, it is spooky season, and it is time to talk about our good old friend pumpkin here. So, as many know, in the United States, we have during Halloween time, people will get pumpkins, they'll carve them out, make some spooky faces on them, and stick it on their front porch. But not many people actually know its origins. So, believe it or not, pumpkin carving originated in Ireland. There is a folklore myth out there about this person named Stingy Jack. He was really known for his evil deeds, and so much so that he actually caught the attention of the devil. Now, the devil really wanted to claim him, but Stingy Jack was able to trick the devil and make the devil agree to not take his soul. So Stingy Jack went to live on the rest of his life, but when he did die, he was turned away from heaven because of all of his evil deeds. So he was kind of stuck in a limbo. He then went down to hell to go speak with the devil to see if he can make hell his resting place. But the devil, being a good man of his word, couldn't take Stingy Jack because he agreed to not take his soul. So Stingy Jack was kind of left to stay in limbo for all eternity. So what the devil did was he gave him a piece of coal and put the piece of coal in a carved root vegetable like a turnip. Um, that way it would light his way as he wandered the earth, which then created the jack-o'-lantern. So the Irish actually used that myth, and on All Hallows Eve, they originally carved root vegetables into scary faces to ward away Stingy Jack. But they also did use those root vegetables as a way to make lanterns to light the way for the good spirits to come visit them on All Hallows Eve. So, really great story, and love hearing the origins of that. Now, once when the Irish did immigrate over to the United States, it then evolved into carving into pumpkins, and that's where we have our current everyday jack-o'-lanterns. But it did originate as being a root vegetable first. So now that we've got the origin story out of the way, what are the magic associations that are tied to a pumpkin? Well, since, of course, the origin comes with warding away Stingy Jack, the very first association that our pumpkin has is protection and banishing. So, pretty easy to put that into play there. Now, since it's also tied to All Hallows Eve and the time when spirits are known to roam the earth, it's also associated with necromancy and divination, as well as summoning. Now, being that a pumpkin is part of like the gourd family and whatnot, it's also tied with fertility, happiness, inspiration, luck, prosperity, love, and relaxation. But most people like to focus on the spooky side with the pumpkin, so protection and banishing. So what a lot of people do, and especially what I like to do is, or what a lot of practitioners like to do, is when they carve their pumpkins, they will actually imbue the protection magic into these pumpkins as they're carving it. So when they put it outside, it'll activate and emit that protection activity. Now, I like to have fun with things, so I don't just do protection pumpkins. I also do prosperity pumpkins or happiness pumpkins. Because I mean, you could have a spell built in each pumpkin, so not every single pumpkin has to have the same spell built into it. So I'll have different pumpkins for different things, and have them all working to either attract certain things or repel certain things. So you don't have to have all your pumpkins doing the same thing. Now, here's the thing that not a lot of people realize. It does not have to be a real pumpkin to do the same magic. So I usually like to have my decorations reusable. So of course, for the kids, I go get real pumpkins so they can have the fun experience of carving pumpkins and whatnot. But I like to also save myself a bit of trouble. So I went and got myself some fake pumpkins. Um, just because it's not a real pumpkin doesn't mean you can't do it. So I had went to the arts and crafts store and picked up this fake pumpkin, carved it out with one of those craft knives, and I carved it into a little shape that my son likes. For those of you who know, you know. Um, but and on the back of this, I'm actually covering it up just for my own spell workings. But on the back, I have with a Sharpie marker a sigil that I have drawn on the back of it. So every year when I put it out, I charge the sigil. So it already starts working its magic as soon as it's outside. So I have a ton of these little fake pumpkins that I put out, and they all do just fantastic, just as good as a real pumpkin. So don't discount those fake pumpkins. You can use those too. But just for video purposes here, we're going to do a real pumpkin because carving a fake pumpkin does take quite a bit of effort when you're using those craft knives. So I'm going to carve this pumpkin right here as a way to show you how I do my method of imbuing the pumpkin with some magic. Now, you do not have to be an expert carver to do this, okay? You can literally just carve triangles in it if you want to, and it'll still do the same thing. If you don't have a carving kit, get a whole bunch of Sharpie markers or paint, and you can still do the same thing. You don't even have to carve into the pumpkin. It's the whole fact of you focusing your energy and what you want the pumpkin to do is the most important part. So let me prep my pumpkin. I'm gonna cut off the top and get all the seeds out, and we'll get to the next step. All right, so welcome back. I have my bowl here ready to collect all of the good seeds. So I let nothing go to waste. I'm going to bake all of those seeds and make some really yummy roasted pumpkin seeds. But I got my handy dandy pumpkin carving knife, and I'm going to get started on cutting open the top and getting all the yummy guts out. So let's get at it. So something I also should mention is as you're carving into the pumpkin, regardless if it's cutting open the top, tracing out your design, or even carving out the pieces, you want to be focusing your intent into the pumpkin because the more focus you put into it, the more the magic works. So for this instance, I'm going to be focusing this pumpkin on some prosperity. I want some prosperity to come my way. So the whole time I'm carving this, I'm going to think about just bringing prosperity from any angle to me. I try to be pretty open on my goals and not just be too targeted, just so that way I don't get in the way of my own spell working. So I'm going to continue to cut open this pumpkin, and I'll see you soon. Okay, welcome back. So I already have my stencil on what I'm going to carve tape to the pumpkin. I'm not going to show it just yet because I want it to be surprised at the very end. But this is my personal method on getting the stencil from the paper to the pumpkin so I know what I'm carving. I actually use my carving kit has one of these little poking things. So you literally just sit here and poke your stencil or poke all of the exterior part of the stencil into the pumpkin. So once when you remove the paper, you see all the little dots everywhere. Now, again, as you're poking the holes into your pumpkin, still focus on what your intent is going to be. So that way everything is pushed directly into that pumpkin. Now, if you don't have one of these, those little corn handle things that you use for corn on the cob, those actually work perfectly if you happen to have those. If not, you can get a fork and just try to poke the outer piece of the fork into there as well. Or just anything that you have that might have just a sharp pointed tip to poke the holes into the pumpkin. So I'm going to get started on poking the stencil design into the pumpkin, and I'll see you back once I'm done. Okay, so now that all of the tracing is done, I don't know if it'll show up on camera, but you see all those little dots there? That's what it should look like when you're done with tracing out the design. The important thing to remember, just for the sake of your hands and your grip and everything, you do not need to poke all the way through the pumpkin. You just need to get the very tip of the point into the pumpkin just to make a dot. So that way you can just visibly see where the lines are. And then, of course, have your stencil handy nearby so you can have a visual reference. So that way, when you're seeing the dots, you know which lines to follow. So I'm going to go ahead and start carving this, and shouldn't take me too long to get this done. So I'll see you shortly. Okay, welcome back. So after quite a bit of carving, I got my pumpkin pretty much ready to go, aside from just a quick little wipe down to get all the extra guts off and whatnot. But it's basically ready for me to show you guys, and then to show you also the next steps. So for the grand reveal, let me actually use my phone so I can use it like a candle to give it some light. Let me turn this around and say hello to my jack-o'-lantern. Here we go. So this is what I ended up carving for today. Not bad. Now, like I said, you do not need to be an expert carver to make a magical pumpkin. You can easily carve triangles. You can carve circles. You can use Sharpie markers or paint and paint it on. You do not need to be very artsy at all. So now what you're going to do, now that you've already been working on getting that magic into the pumpkin with every single carve, every single puncture into it, I like to top it off with a sigil, just to kind of help boost the magic. If you need help with drawing a sigil or learning how to make one, Drake has a video on how to make a sigil, so make sure to check out that video. But I'm going to make mine on prosperity. So let me quickly write that up here. All right, that'll work. All right. So let me go ahead and draw on my sigil. Now you can put it either on the top back, on the bottom, on the lid, wherever you want to put it. If you don't want people to be able to see your sigil, you could always put it on the bottom, but I'm just going to go ahead and put it on the back. So now that I've got my sigil drawn on there, I'm just going to spend some time, focus on that sigil, activate it with focusing on bringing whatever magic I'm imbuing into the pumpkin to activate it. So for this instance, this scary little pumpkin right here is going to be a prosperity pumpkin. So as I'm activating it, staring into it, making sure that those lines start doing their thing, whether they start disappearing on me, showing sparks, or getting foggy, lifting off of the pumpkin. Once when those things happen, you know that the sigil is activated. I'm focusing on that prosperity. All right, so we're good to go with that. From here, you can easily just stick your candle or your LED light inside, top it off, and it's good to put on display in front of your house. Now, do remember to try not to carve your pumpkins too early in advance, so that way your pumpkin doesn't spoil. Once when you carve into it, it does turn pretty quickly. However, a lot of people do use different solutions to help preserve the pumpkin, keep it from rotting. I do know that several people do a combination of like bleach and water, and they just wipe it down real good just to get try to prevent it from spoiling. So definitely get creative, have fun with it. That's the most important thing you have to remember. Have fun with it. Don't make this a daunting task when you're making your pumpkins. So happy spooky season. Enjoy carving your spooky or happy pumpkins. This guy looks a little bit of combination of spooky and happy all at the same time. And until next time, everybody, see you later. Bye bye.